Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today I'm going to show you just a few little oddball stuff ranging about 100 years in history. I'm going to start first with this. When I was living in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Lighting finally came to Florida to play. And that's their inaugural season. Was 92-93. This is the pocket schedule. They played at the fairgrounds, at the Tampa Bay Fairgrounds. And here you can see here, all regular season home games will be at the Expo Hall, Florida State Fairgrounds. And I went to a lot of those games, and it was just like a small little place, and they made it into a hockey rink somehow, but it didn't hold too many people. But that's where they had to start playing in the beginning. It was basically the fairgrounds is where they held all the events of the place. So anyway, that's the where they started. And I don't do a lot of hockey, but I did get into the hockey when I was living there because all the hype and everything, and it was fun and I enjoyed it. And that's how I really got a little bit into hockey there. I don't have many hockey cards, but I ended up after going to some of the games here, they actually got their own stadium finally, which is the Ice Palace. And this was in 1996. And I went to the first game. Actually, I bought season tickets that year and a couple other years too. And this is the opening night season ticket. Let's see if I can get that out of there. It came in this thing, you hung it on your neck and you walked around with it. Here is the opening night season ticket against the Rangers in 1996. This was when they first went into their current their current place, and this is the back of the ticket. What it looks like, it's a nice die cut, but it's one of the few oddball things that I have. Events that I attended, and I thought I'd just share that. It's kind of interesting. Their opening night, the Tampa Bay Lighting, back in 1996, the Ice Palace. So that's the schedule. So that's a couple of things I wanted to show you. I'll put that away a little bit. So that was in 1992, 1996, and something really cool that I found looking through all my stuff was this. And this is a Cuban baseball medal. And I got this, I don't even remember, so many years ago. I guess it was at an auction or something. And I remember getting it like for nothing. It was like less than a blaster box. So anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about this medal, what it is. But before that, I want to talk to you a little bit about Cuban baseball history. And Cuban baseball started back in 1878. It's basically as old as American baseball. And this is a medal that says Medalla de Campeonato de Pelota de los Clubes de Cienfuegos, año 1949. Translation, it's a medal from the championship of baseball from 1949, and this came from the club, or the team of Cienfuegos. Cienfuegos was one of the popular teams, one of the best teams in Cuba, and this is a medal from the 1949 championship game. Now I did some research on this thing as best as I could. I'll be very careful. This is from 1949. Let's just show it to you here real quick, and then I'll talk a little bit about baseball. I'll show you the back of it also. But this is a Cuban, like a medal that they gave when they played the championship games in 1949 for Cienfuegos. And let me tell you a little bit about the Cienfuegos team, because Cienfuegos team started in 1926, And it's one of the teams that had a lot of championships. They actually had 5 league titles. And in those days, there were different teams, the Havana team and Cienfuegos, Almendares, and a few others. But the Cienfuegos team was really one of the ones that, had a lot of the big players, a lot of players there. And unfortunately, they stopped playing in 1960 when the Cuban Revolution and the communists came in. They ended all the private businesses, and this was a private businesses. Each team was owned privately by somebody. So this medal says Campeonato de Baseball, baseball championship, and on the back of it, it has who the person that received this medal, and that was pitcher Victor Avello. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Champion pitcher Victor Avello. And it's a pin that they gave all the players for the 1949 championship. Now I look back to see as much as I could, because most of the history on this Cuban baseball, basically they don't have it anywhere. You're not going to find that on anywhere, not on Wikipedia or anything like that, because a lot of the records were destroyed. All the private businesses were destroyed back in those days. So, but some teams, some of the players that played on the Cienfuegos team over the years were, this is in alphabetical order: George Altman, Jose Askew, Gene Bearden, Cool Papa Bell, Bob Boyd, Leo Cardenas, Sandy Consegra, Martin Dehigo, Tony Gonzalez, Adolfo Luque, Sal Magli, Seth Moorhead, Ray Noble, Alejandro Olms, Camilo Pascual, Pedro Ramos, Cookie Rojas, Napoleon Reyes, Willie Wells, and even Don Zimmer played on the team. It was a strong team. These teams were strong because mainly a lot of the players from the Negro leagues played here. They played in Cuba. And, they had championship teams. Cool Papa Bell played here along with some of the other old greats like Martin Dehigo, Luis Tiant, Alejandro Olms. And some of these guys were our Hall of Famers now, and were incredible players back then. So I looked up the 1949, because this said it was from 1949. So I looked back trying to find what I could on that, and what I did find was that it said the league won the team won 5 league titles in 29 and 30, 45, 46, 55, 56, 59, 66, 61. So basically, in the 1949, they came in second place, and that's what it shows in the history that I could find. So this was actually awarded to the second place team, which was Cienfuegos, and they were beaten by the Havana team that year. So this apparently was from the championship game, but this was the second place prize given to particularly this pitcher here, Victor Avello. So that's all I could find out about it. But if you can imagine, some of these guys, played against the top. Satchel Paige played in this league. If you go back and look at the history of Cuban baseball, which I probably should do a thing on that. They've had, Jose Mendez, Cristobal Toriente, tons of players that really now are Hall of Fame players, and just some of the highlights of the Cuban age of the Cuban times. Babe Ruth played with the New York Giants. He didn't play for Cuban teams, but he went to play in Cuba. And, at that time, Cristobal Toriente upstaged the Bambino by blasting 3 home runs in one game against them. It was just incredible. This is in 1929. Cool Papa Bell hit 3 inside the park home runs. And Alejandro Olms has the all-time single-season batting record, hitting .432 for the season. So, remember these guys, they played against almost Major League competition because the Negro League players came to Cuba, and the Negro League players, since they couldn't play in the United States, they went and they joined the Cuba leagues, and that's where most of these guys played. You know, just tons, you know, Minnie Minoso, Connie Morero, Sal Magli played there. You know, it's just Josh Gibson, Ray Brown, Ray Dandridge. I mean, you can go on and on because most of these guys, they did end up playing in Cuba. So anyway, I wanted to show you this championship medal from the 1949 Cienfuegos team that, from my research, came in second place in the Cuban championship game. And this was the medal that I awarded to one of the pitchers. And for me, it's just history. It's not worth a lot of money. But if you think about, you know, this pitcher, you know, he could have been pitching to Minnie Minoso. He could have been pitching to a lot of other big name. I'll put this away later. He could have been pitching to a lot of these guys that are in, you know, the history. You know, I mean, he could have been pitching a game against, you know, Satchel Paige. So it's just kind of historic to see these guys. This guy, you know, again, that medal is not very, the name is not familiar. I couldn't do any research on that, but just to know that that guy played with some of these Cuban champions, and his team was one of the best teams and came in second place and got that medal. So pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, I want to move on. This is something that I showed before. This was actually my third video. And I looked back and I said, you know what? It's gotten 60 views. So nobody's really seen this thing before. And I thought, you know, this is one of the more interesting memorabilia in my collection. And this is from 1908. And again, it takes you back in history. This is baseball uniform samples from 1908. So if you can imagine, this is a salesman's sample book. Back in the 1900s, a salesperson had to go meet with the team owners or the person who made decisions on buying the, you know, the gloves, the balls, the bats, the masks, and doing the uniforms, you know. So someone would walk in, a salesman from this company would walk in and make a sales pitch, and they didn't have, you know, any computers, of course. They didn't have anything, you know, no PowerPoint or anything like that. So all they had to go in to show them was this, samples of the cloth that was used. So when you talk about patches, these are patches, and this one fell off, but this is a sample of the material that was used to make the uniforms, the baseball uniforms, back in the 1908. So this is a fabric from 1908. All these fabrics are from 1908. And this is what they would show all of the owners, all the different colors and all the different samples of all the different fabrics they have to make the baseball uniforms. And you can see, here's uniform number 9. And this is the more expensive one, the uniform number 9. And it tells you a little bit about, you know, the shirt, it's $8. You know, the pants, padded or without padding, the cap, the hose, the belt, and the extra stuff, the monographs. So they would actually sell them the uniform, the coat and everything. And these are the fabrics, the different fabrics, different colors that they would use to create the uniforms for the teams. So all of these are basically 1908 pieces of fabric. Here's uniform number 8. So they would go and try to sell them the more expensive uniform. This one, $17 each. And if that didn't go well, they'd move on to this uniform, which was $13.60, and showed them the example of these. And this gets a little bit thinner. This is definitely a lot better material. And it says here, this is athletic flannel, made from all wool, athletic flannel. So pretty interesting stuff, something I've never seen before. And I thought you guys would get a kick out of looking at it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show it to you because it's a pretty big little book here. So the salesman would try to go in and show all these to the owners and see what uniform they could sell them. And here comes the other. This keeps falling off because this was handmade. It was just glued right on there. Some would cut little patches, just like they do today. They'd cut the little patches, and they'd put the little patches in this book, so they could show, so they could sell the product. Uniform number 7. See, it gets cheaper now. Now it's only $10 for uniform number 7. And that's made for, 4.5 ounce wool. So it's a little bit thinner material, but it's pretty neat. Something that you may have never seen. I figured, if you didn't see my 3rd video, which most people did not, I only had 60 views. This is what's in there. So if you want to get a better look at it, go back and look at that video. But I just wanted to give you a look at some old memorabilia from 1908. And this is from 1908, guys. It's very delicate. It's the salesman sample of uniforms. It's got a lot of pages because, you can get down to the cheapie, which is $5.50 for the uniform. The shirt, only $2.50. But that thing, you can tell that it's just ripping up already. See, the cheap material. But these are 1908 patches of uniforms that they made uniforms from these patches, from these from this material. That's what they made the uniforms for. And you can see they had a little bit of everything too. They had mitts and gloves and masks and everything. This is the Charles H. Dudley Company. So those are, and that's got like a Detroit uniform there. So samples of baseball uniforms from 1908. So I wanted to give you guys a look at that. If you've never seen anything like that, I had never seen anything like it. So I just want to show you some oddball stuff. Show you that. Show you the Cuban medal from the Cuban championship game from 1949. That was awarded to one of the pitchers, Victor Avello. He won this award back in 1949. They pinned it on his chest at that time. And I've got show you the ticket for the first game, opening night at the Ice Palace. So 3 little things I wanted to show you guys, stuff that maybe you hadn't seen, just change the theme of the cards a little bit. So I'll be showing more cards in my next video, but I wanted to go through some of this oddball stuff. All right, everybody. Have a great day, have an awesome day, and thank you for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe. I really, really appreciate all the comments also. So have an awesome day, guys. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Thanks for watching.